I hadn't posted a video in a while, but in keeping with Black History Month, I had to make this video about this particular man here, Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls was an enslaved person born in Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, his mother was a house slave, and as such, he had some privileges. And those privileges extended to the fact that he didn't have to go to the fields and things like that. And his mother, concerned about that, decided to send him to Charleston, South Carolina, when he was around 12 years old. Now, he went to work as a lamplighter and then did various other jobs and then found himself working on docks. And that intrigued him. He worked on various ships and things like that until finally worked himself up to helmsman. And then, when the Civil War broke out, they assigned him to a supply ship called the Planter. Now, this man devised a scheme to escape slavery. And it took him some time to do it. And when he implemented it, it was remarkable. If ever a story of a man's life ought to be made into a movie, this is it. Well, now he was on the Planter and he devised this scheme to escape. And one night when the white sailors went ashore, they put the plan in motion. And he got the Planter, and at a pre-arranged place, they picked up the family members of the other slaves on the ship, and they all got on there and headed out towards the Charleston Harbor. Now, there are about 5 forts that they had to pass by, and he knew the signals for all of those forts, so he was able to give those. But he even so detailed about this thing that he even put on a captain's jacket and a straw hat, and he resembled the actual captain of the Planter. So that anybody looking out there, they would think, well, that's him. So he went by all these 5 forts and finally got to Fort Sumter, which was the last one. And he was able to give the signals, and they finally responded back, and they went on about the business. And he headed straight for the blockade of Union ships out there in the harbor. And as soon as he got close enough, they put up a bed sheet, a white flag, saying that we surrender. And he went up there and surrendered the Planter to the Union Navy. And for that, they gave him a prize of $1,500. A lot of money back in those days. But that's not the end of the story. Because of his heroism, he was able to go in and talk to Lincoln and all, and this is how blacks were able to enlist in the Union Army. They thought that, whoa, we got an untapped resource here. So that's how 180,000 blacks ended up fighting for the Union, turning the tide of the war. Now, after the war was over, he went back to Beaufort. And he was elected several times to the state legislature as a representative, as well as a senator. And in addition to that, he served a couple of terms in the United States House of Representatives. And get this, he even bought the house of his former master and allowed his widow to move in with him, and she lived there until she died. Remarkable. Then, in 1913, 2 black men were about to be lynched by a mob of whites because they were accused of killing this white man. Smalls convinced the mayor and the sheriff that if they didn't call off that mob, that he had folks scattered all around town, and they were going to burn it down unless they call it off. And they did. Smalls died in 1915, a hero. A remarkable story of a remarkable man who did some remarkable things.